We've been working about 3.5 months, I think. It was in January, end of January that we started.
Yeah.
So it's been about like a semester. And so my first question for you is, what is this work? What do you think this work is? Or what has it been for you?
Wow. Okay. Well, so I guess I came to the Alexander technique, and I guess maybe it's not an unusual way, but for me, after coming off of a big injury where I fell, I broke my back, I broke my ankle, and perhaps I was more open to the idea of different types of healing techniques or different ways to get my body back into the shape that it was in before. And what this technique has really been for me has been a lot about not only getting my body back, but really bringing my confidence back. And I think one of the things that Alexander technique does is we really work with the physical body, but it really inspires I don't know what the other half would be, the spiritual half, the emotional half, but it really, the physical actions really informs the way that other half interacts with the world. And I feel like for me, like being here, it wasn't just about my ankle and my back. It was this full body, and everywhere else that I went for help physically, recovering from the injury, it was always about fixing the ankle, fixing the back, fixing the ankle, fixing the back, fixing the ankle, fixing the back. And when I came here, we touched on that briefly and then moved to the entire body. And we always kept this global picture of the body. And at first that was surprising to me. I was like, wait a minute, like my ankle and my back.
That's so interesting. Wow.
But for me, the opportunity to begin to think of these broken pieces as part of the whole again was a really important step in the healing process. Yeah, one of the big things that I think has changed for me is this idea of parking, this like putting my body into a position that forces the back to sort of constrict and the muscles to constrict. That really isn't good. And I find myself when I'm cooking or when I'm doing things and I'm not quite paying attention or I'm not quite conscious of my body, I find myself parking, and I can now that I've done this, I don't know.
Parking would be like, well, maybe you can.
Okay. So I'll do a little before and after. So this is me before. I got like a crescent moon shaped thing going on. And now just bringing the hips back and being in a line is something that I do. I don't know how many times a day I'm catching myself like.
Oh, that's cool. That's really cool.
So
yeah.
The technique talks about getting us out of these habits that we've formed, and we've convinced ourselves that they're comfortable, they're correct, and more and more I'm starting to be able to catch these habits of mine that are actually not helpful.
Have there been changes in your life in the past 3 months, 4 months? Of course, I'm not saying that this is due to Alexander technique, but it's just Alexander technique is just one little element. Yeah. But it could be a catalyzer. So I'm interested to know, what changes, big or small, have you noticed?
Yeah. Well, I guess I can list off some of the big changes that are happening in my life. The fact that I'm quitting my job and going traveling for a year is a big change. One that I'm a little bit still anxious about, but really excited all the same. I don't know. I grew up in Southern California my whole life. I was pretty planted there, and this idea of moving abroad was very much my wife's initiative, or my girlfriend at the time, and now my wife's initiative. And it was a big stretch for me. And now to go off and tear off the roots and go do it again, I feel a little bit apprehensive of it, but I think it's something that I'm excited about.
Was that also your wife's initiative, or is it mutual, or is it coming from you, or?
It was originally her idea, and then I've come around to it. When she was originally proposing the idea, it was back when I was still on crutches and in a back brace, and I was just not ready to commit to anything like that. I didn't know how quickly the recovery was going to be. I didn't know how long I was going to need to do the physical therapy, and I was really looking forward to a bit more stability, despite the job at the library has been incredible, but it's definitely not what I want to do with my life. And a piece of of staying in Paris and maintaining that stability, if you will, would have been continuing to do a job that I enjoy but isn't bringing me the most joy. And even just since we've started, I really have transitioned from being with a cane and crutches to back to climbing at the same level that I was climbing before. And
the same level, wow.
even a little bit harder in some cases, which is really fantastic. And so it's hard to really explain what the mentality is like when that injury like first happens, and you're laying in a bed and you're all broken, and you just can see the recovery time in front of you, and it feels like it's going to be this endless monster that's just never going to stop, and you're never going to get through it, and your life is going to be changed forever in those activities that you really loved, or you'll never find a way to like get back to them because it's going to be this long, horrible process. And maybe I was lucky to have good people on my team along the way to really help me get through that. But now being on the other, almost all the way on the other side of that process, I have a little bit more to do to be really pain-free. But it's amazing how fast it went. And it's amazing how quickly I felt like I've been able to blend into society again. Really, like, gosh, I can't tell you how many people in Paris like stare you down when you're like
on crutches.
Gosh, and this was at the moment when all those like terrorist attacks were happening, and I have this big like black thing strapped underneath my shirt. I'm like,
he's a suicide bomber.
Look, man, I broke my back. What I find really differentiates the Alexander technique from kiné or the physical therapy is this idea of like it's not, and this was what I was trying to get at with like that ankle and back. It's very much trying to fix the body as if it were a car, and there's this piece broken, and you're just trying to like either replace the piece or like, like
which you can't.
get it running again,
Yeah.
whatever it is.
Yeah.
And the body is it's like an external thing that we're just trying to make work again. Where Alexander technique, I think, like we've touched on a few other times in this conversation, is so global, and it brings together the mind and the body. We really see how it's connected, and starting by thinking differently, we can then interact with our body differently and interact with the world differently, and being asked to do that and go through those exercises with a teacher, I think really breaks, for me, I'll speak for me, really opens me up and allows me to engage with that teacher in a way that I don't have that opportunity with people on the street or in the cafe, or even just like friends that I interact with most of the time. I don't have that level of intimacy. So
yeah, that's really surprising too. I would agree, but it's really interesting to hear from the other side.
You've been really just like a fantastic teacher along the way. I think you've been really good about even sharing that role, letting me be in your position, and I think those are the moments sometimes they would actually really click for me when we would switch roles, and I would either direct you in the same exercise that we were doing and feel how you would do it correctly, or how you were, how you were doing it correctly, and that for me that really informed me on how I could situate myself differently or use my body differently.
Work. I don't know if you want to say anything else, or you have any questions for.
Well, just my immense gratitude for being so kind in your introduction to this technique for me.
Yeah. Well, you paid me as well. So.
In exchange,
and it's not just charity. I feel very lucky to be able to do this really interesting, wonderful work, which brings me a lot of joy, and then even to get paid for it. So wow, that's what I hope for you, that you'll find something.
I hope to find it.
The up continues even if you're gonna bend forward. It means and this is gonna be easier for you. Yes, but don't. Yes, and that was easy. Come on.
Yeah. Thank you.
Okay. Yeah. There you grew heavy.
Yeah.
Do you feel the difference?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think I lose my. I think that one probably has to do with bending a bit because I rocked back onto my heel.
Oh, yeah,
So
yeah,
I
yeah.
lost the connection with the ground.
It's like putting out your hand and it's spreading, you know?
Right.
It's like, and so your toes can spread.
Right.
It's just an intention. So you're gonna, good, so your toes are spreading. It's like a frog, you know, a frog sticking to a tree. That was good. That was good.
Yeah. What would I give for hands like that?
It's for climbing, since you climb, I think it's like, yeah, like suction cut. It's like Spider-Man.